and grace be to this house where all are welcomed in. Receive the guest, receive this heart. Tell the stranger, tell. Tell the stranger what you carried so long, and desire your joy. Make tall your walls, make long these names, who once believed alone. Make wide the circle, feet of fire, tell the silence, tell the silence, what you found so long, and desire your joy. Blessings be upon this place, let every wound be healed, let every secret, every dream, tell the angel, tell the angel what you cannot tell those who love and desire your joy. Peace and grace be to this house, all will be returned. Let every soul be called home. Tell the mystery, tell the mystery, what you long to tell those who love and desire your joy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Louise Green, and I welcome each of you to the sacred time we are creating together today. We're beginning in a different way than usual. I know that Unitarian Universalists like to know where we're going, so we're starting with an opening reflection and a call to ritual space. We are honoring our connection to this planetary being, Earth, and our orientation in directions, land, and space. And in so doing, we begin to let go of individual orientation. We remember a set of relationships which are always present. We come into the presence of one another and the particular All Souls site so many of us love and yearn to be in again next year. All around the world, millions of people are marking and honoring a key moment over the next 24 hours. In our Northern Hemisphere, we approach the winter solstice, which will align tomorrow, Monday, at 5:02 Eastern Time. And in the Southern Hemisphere, this is the summer solstice. And some of you tuning in reside there as well. We hold ourselves together in this planetary awareness. For millennium, human beings and other living creatures have tracked our place in the cosmos as viewed from Earth. And the solstice is that moment of balance between darkness and light observed in the sun's relationship to this planet. Today, in the Northern Hemisphere, we will have the shortest period of daylight and the longest night of the year. and the sun will be at its lowest daily elevation. At the North Pole, there will be a continuous ring of darkness or twilight. The solstice occurs with what is a rare visible closeness of Jupiter and Saturn, what will appear as one large superstar on Monday night after sunset. The conjunction will be most visible from the equator region, yet apparent in many places. The last time this occurred in a way that was so clearly visible from Earth was the year 1226. 800 years ago, Earth residents witnessed a similar event. I love what we see and learn from planetary movements, this long view of galaxies and the universe unfolding. It is a reminder of our connection to a larger vision and the place from which we view the cosmos, our home on Earth, Gaia, the interdependent web in which we are formed from the same elements no matter where we live. Earth elements, which contain cosmic materials which came from distant stars. And so to open our worship this morning, we're going to begin in a different way. I invite you to be more aware of the land on which you sit right now and your own orientation in hemisphere and biosphere. We also hold in our joint consciousness the All Souls building site in the corner of 16th Street and Harvard Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., in the United States. Our building there was created in 1924. However, our congregation goes back to 1821, founded at a site near Judiciary Square in DC. The land beneath both the buildings and another one in between was once the home of the Piscataway indigenous peoples, the residents of the Potomac and the Anacostia River regions, and the many waters such as Rock Creek that move into the Chesapeake Bay watershed. This is where we reside. Our All Souls buildings were created by generations of laborers that included immigrants, enslaved peoples, free residents. We let go this morning of any sense that this site is only ours now, a building disconnected from native lands and deeper history. We seek to embrace and learn from the 200 years of our congregation and the complexity of its relationships over time. We let go of our tendency to center human history, to center the history of the dominant, and we remember a longer sense of time. And so I'm going to invite you into the calling of the directions, which is a way to recall our place among all relations on this planet Earth. This has been one of my own daily spiritual practices for many, many years. And today I will stay facing you because of our virtual space. If it is your practice or you would like to join, I invite you to either rise or lift a hand into each direction as is named. So please take a deep breath and land fully in your own geographic setting in the room in which you sit, whether you are sitting or standing, indoor, outdoors. Feel the land on which you reside. We call this morning on the teachers of the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars. Align us to our highest purpose today and to the healing of the ongoing community, which is All Souls. We let go of isolation and the illusion of separate being, and we embrace our oneness. We call on our Earth Mother. Hold us in the bowl of your being and help us to truly honor the land and the region of All Souls, as we honor the land and the regions in which we each reside. We call on the teachers of the South. Unbind us from our personal history our community history, that we may feel collective clarity and the ability to transform. We call on the teachers of the West. Guide us to the place of intuition and inner knowing. Remind us of the gift of darkness and the creativity of retreat and restoration. We call on teachers of the North. Move us to the greater wisdom needed in these times. Open us to the knowledge and experience of teachers over time in many wisdom traditions. And we call on teachers of the East. Help us as we fly into our future, rising to our higher potential, our emergence of human consciousness for the sake of all beings. And so it is. Blessed be. We move now, as you exhale, into your seated or standing or moving position, into this presence of chalice lighting. After this deeper orientation, we now light our chalice. The Unitarian Universalist symbol of the light represents the inherent worth and dignity of all creatures. We will be led by the Andrews Zitelli family today, Elizabeth, Ben, and Genevieve. Welcome.
Good morning. We are going to read this morning. We invite you to light your chalice with us as we light ours. We're going to read the words from the Children's Chapel traditional chalice lighting.
We light this chalice for our Unitarian, Universalist, spirit-growing, justice-seeking community.
I am a living member of the great family of all souls.
Good morning, all souls. It is so lovely to be with you on this surprisingly not rainy Sunday morning. I invite you to join in singing our opening hymn this morning. We still have two options every Sunday for you to join in singing. You'll see my face briefly, and then the words to Joyful is the Dark will scroll on your screen. I hope you'll join me.
morning and welcome to All Souls Church. My name is Jana Owens. I have been a member of All Souls for nearly 20 years. Since the year 1821, the members of All Souls have been walking together toward a very important place, a place that Martin Luther King called the beloved community. We're moving ever forward toward a place where walls that separate us just fall away and we can stand together as one human family. With joy and with determination, we walk this path together, regardless of where the journey began, how much or how little we carry with us, and with whom we choose to hold hands along the way. We're all going there to lend a hand to the creation of a diverse, justice-seeking, and spirit-growing community that is true to the dream of all souls. And we invite you to join us on this grand adventure. I would like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are visiting this morning. We're so glad you're with us. Feel free to let us know in the chat window where you're viewing us from, and if you would like to start receiving our weekly e-newsletter. So now let's move to our moment of beholding. As the music plays, please scroll through the Zoom gallery and share a wave or a greeting in the chat with some of the other folks who are part of the great family of All Souls.
Good morning, All Souls. Rob Keithan here, your Minister of Social Justice. We start our announcements today with some good news for our community. This past Tuesday, December 15th, the DC Council approved the critical amendment we have been working on and also the entire Sanctuary Values Act. This critical legislation will make our city safer and better for more people, and its unanimous passage is a strong testament to the coalition built by organizations and congregations, including All Souls, that made it happen. So here is a huge shout out to all those organizations, to the members of All Souls Migrant Solidarity Team, and especially to all of our undocumented neighbors for their courageous leadership. Today, our special solstice stroll is sold out. There may still be some spaces available for the labyrinth walks between noon and 1 and 1 and 2, but all are invited to gather safely on the lower steps and sidewalk on 16th Street or even across the street to listen to live jazz, bring a lawn chair and relax and wave hello to friends. A few more holiday observances. Tomorrow is the last day to sign up for our ornament exchange, facilitated by Rose Eaton, where families or individuals can sign up to make an ornament and exchange it with someone else. And we will have 2 services on Christmas Eve. Our 7 p.m. pageant service with appearances from children and youth, music from the Children's Choir and Jubilee Singers. And then at 10, our service of lessons and carols featuring special music from All Souls Choir. And a bittersweet note for the congregation. Sunday, December 27th will be the last service of Reverend Tony Coleman, our Minister of Adult Spiritual Development. Reverend Tony moved to Memphis earlier this year for family and a job there, and he has stayed along with us, which we have much appreciated, but the time has come for us to part ways. And so we will be grateful for him and his ministry here, and we wish him luck at First Congregational UCC in Memphis, Tennessee. And finally, another thing to look forward to in the All Souls calendar is that Bokamoso, although they cannot be with us in person, this amazing youth choir from South Africa will still provide music for us on Sunday, January 10th. We invite you to join us.
Say good morning to the baby.
And now,
Say good morning to Daddy.
Hi, can I kiss?
if folks who are not
Can I have a kiss?
speaking would mute,
I
please.
have to see with your diaper really quickly.
Thank you. We turn now to our pastoral concerns. Many of you, I hope, have seen the letter that went out on Saturday, sharing the news that unfortunately an unhoused person who had been sleeping on the steps of All Souls Church died on Friday. We know his name. His name was Jose Moises Santos Hernandez, age 44. He's from El Salvador. He has family here in the city in Columbia Heights. And so we say a prayer for him, for all the unhoused people in our community who lack the support and services they need, for his family. And it turns out that starting at 4 p.m. today and going into tomorrow is the annual observance in Washington, D.C. of the lives lost of unhoused people. So Rose Eaton is going to share that link in the chat, and we will participate with all those other people in lifting up the named and the unnamed in our community who have lost their lives for lack of services. Let's take a moment of silence to hold Jose Moises and all others in our hearts for a moment. Other pastoral concerns in our community to lift up. Our hearts go out to Eileen Finlay, whose mother died unexpectedly of cardiac arrest this week. Let us hold Eileen, her children Lucas and Amaya, and their whole family in love and care. We send love also to Chevy Rice, whose cousins Deborah and Arthur both died of COVID recently. And this week, we're saddened to learn that Jose Luis Sanchez found out that he has colon cancer. He will undergo treatment in January, so let us send prayers of healing, support, and solidarity to Jose Luis on this challenging journey. And in the silence that follows and or in the chat, please say or write aloud the names of those you carry on your heart this morning. In this solstice service, in lieu of a prayer, I invite you to join me in a litany of letting go. I will speak a sentence or two and pause, and I invite you to respond with your mute button still on by saying, "There is power in letting go." Let me say that again. There is power in letting go. So I begin. In the lingering days of this challenging year, filled with so much struggle and loss, we say, there is power.
There is power
in letting go. So much was not as we had hoped. Jobs altered or lost altogether. So many events, so many trips delayed or missed or canceled. There is power in letting go. Amidst so much change, we can and must free ourselves from previous expectations. Our world is not the same, and we cannot be the same. There is power in letting go. The gift of this time is to understand more clearly what is important to us and what is not. What is worth our passion and our attention and what is not. For things left undone, for things left unsaid, we can offer grace to ourselves and to others. Let us set aside that which we cannot change and make room in our hearts, our minds, and our souls for new possibilities. There is power in letting go. And again, all together, there is power in letting go. Amen.
You know, the pandemic has I think, made all of us really reflect on our mortality and loss that many of us have experienced as a result of the pandemic. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting myself. And one of those things is, you know, what can I let go of? And my conclusion has been a job that I used to love that it's become overly stressful. So I'm going to retire sooner than I anticipated doing by the spring of next year. I've got this big transition coming, and it's really exciting because there's so many things I want to do when I get vaccinated. But one thing I cannot and will not let go of is All Souls Church. Even though I can't be there in person and many of our activities are paused or they had to be scaled down some, All Souls remains to be very, very important to me. So I ask you to consider how important our church community and the important work that we do mean to you. Please continue to give as generously as you can while our services are still virtual as we resume our normal activities. Vaccinations are coming, and we will be able to be together in the foreseeable future. So please continue to give as generously as you can. Thank you.
Good morning, All Souls. Let me start by saying that in this year of letting go, I am letting go of being just your music director, embracing my heart racing and vulnerability, and facing you all rather than just waving my arms with my back to you. This is so nervous making for me, so I hope that in your practice of letting go, you release any expectations you may have of your music director who is about to preach this morning in her slippers. 4 years ago, when my son Simon was born, I became a terrible housekeeper. When I moved to DC in 2013, I took great pride in my minimalist, simple style. Everything that I owned fit into the back of a pickup truck. Every cherished possession that made the journey with me had a story, a special place in my small apartment. Fast forward 3 years, I was a married homeowner living in the almost suburbs with a newborn baby and more plastic than I'd ever owned in my life. Diapers, temporary infant furniture, and noise-making toys that my parents and in-laws thought would be a good idea. The first time my mom visited after Simon was born, she quietly cleaned, did laundry, and doted on mama and baby hand and foot. I remember telling her that I was shocked at the amount of work it suddenly took to keep a house, recalling that my childhood home was always spick and span, despite the fact that my mom was a single mother with 2 kids and a full-time job. She reminded me that being a parent was work, and that she didn't just wave her hands in the air and make magic happen. At the time, I remember really struggling with this sentiment because the other love of my life, leading music with and for others, granted me the luxury of this magic on a regular basis. I wave my arms, and on a good day, the ceilings seem to burst from their rafters with the true magic of collective, spirit-filled music making. This year, the only walls that seem to be bursting are the walls of my living room with my frustration as I chuck my phone after the 47th take of this week's virtual choir submission, foiled again by an urgent text message, phone call, or GIF of Robert Downey Jr. dancing in his Iron Man costume. It is undeniable that this pandemic has transformed the lives of so many individuals. But the way it has impacted singers is truly astounding. The very notion that the act of singing has become a high-risk activity seems almost comical. Heartbreaking, but comical. In our choir rehearsals in person, I often reiterate my awareness that singing in a choir, especially as an adult, is a choice to do something for oneself that is not in service of work or family, but because it brings a different kind of satisfaction, joy, and sense of purpose. In the hustle and bustle of the often cutthroat ambition that thrives in DC, it is hard to make space for a ritual such as singing. And yet every week, after 8+ hours at their day jobs, our choristers spend precious time searching for that ever elusive parking spot, only to shove some calories into their face in Reeb lobby before 2 more hours of work in rehearsal. But the thing is, sometimes, or dare I say often, it doesn't feel like work. It feels important, meaningful, affirming. It feels like we are all on a train going the same direction, and it doesn't even matter the destination. That, friends, is magic. This year, our rituals look a bit different. Instead of singing Rachmaninoff Vespers in a candlelit sanctuary, We've been prepping music for the past 6 weeks by singing into the void of our cell phone cameras with headphones, click tracks, all served with a hearty side of anxiety and self-deprecation. Instead of singing Lean on Me in worship the Sunday after Bill Withers died, we held a candlelight vigil for Withers and also John Prine and Ellis Marsalis, who all passed away in the same week in late March, early April. And the choir members and friends serenaded each other via Zoom. Rather than hugs at the start of every rehearsal, we spend half of our weekly Zoom gathering checking in and sharing joys and concerns with one another. Why? Because it is as much our ritual to sing with one another as it is to care for one another. We still laugh together, mostly, I'll confess, because of my inability to execute very simple functions on the computer. We still cry together because that too is a part of our ritual, like it is for many of you who cry through the music during worship. And we still encounter the rare bird in the form of a virtual performance that comes together perfectly, a true testament that the sum of our music making is almost always greater than its parts. And the sum of this community, pretty amazing. In fact, literally every email or voicemail I receive from anyone in the music program begins or ends with, "I cannot wait until we are able to sing together again." But the other phrase included in every email, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inflicting another weekly Zoom meeting on me. Thank you for asking me to submit 2 more virtual choir videos this week. Thank you for telling me kindly to mute myself while we all sing together virtually. Sheesh. Most days, I don't feel worthy of their gratitude, but I do share their hope that we emerge from this pandemic whole. And that requires work. It requires care. It requires letting go of some of the ways we thought this was all supposed to work. And yes, it requires gratitude. Turns out my mom was right. It's a lot more than waving your hands and hoping for magic. I cry every time Joni Mitchell gets to the line, "Something's lost, but something's gained in living every day," in her iconic song, Both Sides Now. In fact, I always cry when someone sings the truth. Gathered community and singing and applause and hugs and immediate validation have all been a part of my loss this year. My diagnosis with an autoimmune disease this spring and my body's lack of cooperation with all that my mind has planned has been another chapter of loss. But there have also been gains. I've come to appreciate nature even more, especially on the days that my body tolerates a hike or a long bike ride. I've learned that I can use music apps and other technology that I have actively resisted up to this point in my career. I've learned that singing is still a balm for me, even when I feel overwhelmed with work or not very inspired. And I've come to trust that there are even deeper roots among this community than I ever imagined. True friendship, real friendship. This community loves one another, and that's not something to be taken for granted, especially right now. I've also had more time to watch my kiddo grow up. So much more time to appreciate the art and the clutter and the stories that now fill my house, which is much less Scandinavian minimalist and much more hygge. a characteristic of Danish culture that means, in essence, creating a warm atmosphere and enjoying the good things in life with good people. The warm glow of candlelight or a fireplace is hygge. Cozying up with a loved one for a movie, that's hygge too. And me wearing my fuzzy slippers while also trying to appear poised and professional, also hygge. Friends, I hope that in this turning of the year, as you take stock of all you've had to let go, you remember what's been gained. Find a little wonder, a little joy, and maybe celebrate the stillness and the hygge that this slower season in our lives has allowed. Happy solstice, friends.
I so appreciate hearing from Jen about her own deep connection to the ministry of music and the many things that all of you who create our worship have learned to navigate in these times. Jen brings her heart and soul to the collective work, as does every staff person at All Souls. I'm grateful for her vision for this solstice day, this morning and this afternoon, and for the chance to collaborate with her today. This is a great gift to the congregation that we tend each other, that staff invests with their hearts, and you return love. Jen's speaking is emblematic of so much letting go we are all experiencing in this year of 2020. And I sit here in my sparkly gold socks, which I may not rise up to the level of the screen, Jen, but you know they are there. The waves of change are powerful and intense. There has been falling apart and devolving as familiar forms disappear. New ways of being and doing emerge. And there is cost and promise in where we are. We navigate pandemic loss, political and governmental change, uprising, accountability on racism, and the core of our US history. We all learn new ways of living for all ages in work, school, family, home life. And so the solstice marks our place of turning, a moment of balance between darkness and light. We embrace the daytime and the night. We hold space for releasing what no longer serves us. And today we invite you to let go with intention and ritual, sorrow and joy, serious purpose, and perhaps even fun and joyful delight. What is it with you that needs to be released? What weight might you no longer carry? How might you embrace all that is today with a little more humility and a lot more joy? Many of us will be at All Souls DC congregational site today for our solstice stroll, and we will walk the labyrinth. We will write down what we want to release into the fires. We will hear beautiful music, and we will offer a blessing from the 16th Street steps at 5:02 p.m., which is 12 hours before the solstice on Monday morning, 5:02 a.m. Reverend Kathleen Rollens, who is tending all of our religious education classes this morning, and I will be present at that moment, as well as a number of you and more staff. And this blessing, the solstice blessing that we had planned, will now be a memorial as well. We remember the life of our neighbor who died at the very entrance doors of our sanctuary on Friday, Jose Moises Santos Hernandez. We say his name. We offer condolences to his family and friends, our neighbors in this area and in El Salvador. Whether you are at the All Souls site, or another one. We are connected today and every day. And your presence is valuable, your part is invited. Is there a way that you might prepare for solstice? Is there a way that you might hold space with us? Design your own observance today. A walk in nature, 5 minutes looking out a window, tuning into earth, mindful of your surroundings. Observe the night sky this evening from wherever you are on the planet. Write your own list of release, place it in your own fire. Light a candle this evening. Join the Yoga Nidra tonight, which is on Zoom at 7:30 in our adult spiritual development. We invite you to create your own retreat, observing a Sunday of reflection, business non-usual, mourning, joy, and release. What is it you will let go? What will you let go in this dark of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, or the summer brilliance in the South, that more peace may flow where you reside? Now is the time, that sacred time of solstice, wherever you are on this jewel of planet Earth. Blessed be.
I invite you to join me in singing one of my favorite songs for winter. This is Dark of Winter, and the words will scroll on your screen. Just 2 verses for this one. Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
In this time of great beauty, there is also great loss. In the powerful, enveloping music that follows, we invite you to sink in to the depth and complexity of it all and feel held. Amen.
Sure on this shining night of starry shadows round, kindness must watch for me this side the ground. On this shining summer holds the earth